Hello, I thought I would give my routine YouTube update about politics and social media. I'm going to do each one bi-weekly, 2 times a month instead of the typical once a month. I'm going to give one right now, currently, for the week of May 5th to May 18th. As far as the election goes, we know that Obama was re-elected president illegally for the second time for his second term for his own communistic agenda. He will still refuse that he killed 4 white boys and that he was part of it. Hillary Clinton will still always refuse to admit that she was part of it. And Susan Rice will always refuse to admit that she was part of it. Obama will always be a sociopathic, pathological liar. You will never get the facts out of him unless you put him in a room with 4 Russian people who have no conscience. That's the reality of it. You put him in the room with 4 Russians who have no conscience, you'll see how quick he will confess. What was your real intention for being in office? I want to be in office. I said, don't put a nail in me, it hurts. You have caused enough problems. Now we take care of you. You're gonna stop. You're going to shut up. That's how the whole thing would be. There would be no such thing as an orchestrated interview where you take a liberal media member who tells him what to say, or he tells them what he'll say, and then they'll condone it, the whole spiel. The Libya thing we know we'll never get the answers from him about. There's no such thing as him telling the truth. As far as this current thing with the supposed town hall meeting the congressional Democrats and the Republicans had yesterday with the supposed meeting about Benghazi. I was so bored I didn't even watch the whole thing. I didn't even bother taping it because it isn't worth my hard drive recording time. Usually I'll just tape politics. If they have a really funny part, I'll tape it just for the sake of laughing about it later on, if I want a good laugh. But there's a lot of stuff on there that's... It really isn't worth my hard drive time. I knew they weren't going to give the facts yesterday. And as far as this thing with this girl, Jodi Arias, who killed her ex-boyfriend, the whole thing is well too orchestrated. If you take a real domestic abuse case, okay, yes, I've had my own observance about one, because there is currently an abusive domestic abuse case going on against my niece as the victim, and the cops have totally ignored it. Things are so screwed up, there is no connection. So the only way to say it is, I have observed my niece getting severely destroyed. And the cops, which I have notified about it, even though I had no intention of them knowing that they would actually do something. But the evidence is there. But the whole point is, I've had my share of observance about one. Now, according to the case of this whole thing in the media, There is a lot of shit they don't tell you, and I say that loosely with intensity. Not irate intensity, but factual intensity. In other words, you got the who, what, when, where, and why. Okay? Yes, I do say, yes, the girl does look callous on film. Okay? Yes, as one reporter said about half an hour ago, because they're currently doing the Fox News Channel updates on it. Yes, the girl does look like she has some kind of mental illness. Okay, she does look callous. At first, I saw her as either a person who is or was in shock after taking care of business, or she just looks like someone that just really doesn't give a shit in general. But now, the way the storyline is going, after analyzing her, the media gives one interpretation about her, she gives another, but the media still does not give the in-depth facts about, okay, we know who did it, she did it, she admitted to doing it, but they don't tell you why. They just tell you, yeah, the whole thing is about domestic abuse. They tell you that she admitted doing it, but that's the only evidence they've come up with about her, but they don't tell you why she went there. They don't tell you what the ex-boyfriend did to her. They just label her as, well, she told us that there was severe abuse. They tell you that she told them that there was abuse, but they say that she didn't give any evidence. Now, the fact is, that which they don't want to tell you in the media, in the fine print area, is, did she actually give evidence, but did they label it as not admissible evidence? Because as we all know, according to courts, if you get evidence that is not gotten or received to their liking, they automatically label it as not admissible or non-admissible. That's like the cop-out that they use, well, if you tape someone without their acknowledgement, it's not admissible. Bullshit. The FBI does it all the time. But of course, considering you're a piece of shit civilian who is a second-rate white trash taxpayer, who they considered lower than them, they considered you as quote-unquote not licensed. So now, according to their court session, they counted this girl as the terrorist. But meantime, they don't tell you what the guy did to her. I'm not defending her, and I'm not saying she's guilty. It's a flip-sided coin. They tell you one thing, she shows you another, but yet the facts, the fine print facts, are still missing. What drove her to the edge of shooting the guy and then stabbing him multiple times? Did she freak out that much that she doesn't remember anything after that? But according to the media, that could be a storyline plot. Well, yeah, I stabbed him, but I don't remember what happened after that. Because either she was in such a fit of rage, or that's as far as the media wants her to go. Now my question is, they are getting her for killing her ex-boyfriend and labeling her as not giving evidence of the abuse, but they are hell-bent on convicting her for killing him. But yet you take the Casey Anthony case, there's a supposed lack of evidence, and they let her go. Now how do you let a sociopath go, who laughs on film, pulls a crying act, and then acts innocent, they count her as lack of evidence, and then you take another sociopath who was pushed towards the edge, or an innocent girl turns sociopath because she was pushed towards the edge, and they label her as the murderer, but yet they don't accept or have the evidence of abuse. So now, if there was no evidence, how do they count her as being the murderer? It should be a hung jury in that area for lack of evidence. That is the fuck up in the U.S. law system. That's why every single U.S. proclaimed socialistic country laughs at the U.S. because the U.S. has its own made-up rules that have nothing to do with God. You see, the difference between the U.S. and God sees and knows everything. He knows every single thing. Which a lot of people are going to say, oh, that's creepy. He even knows when you go to the bathroom. The government doesn't know shit. The government doesn't care. It just sees you as, well, you killed someone and you have to prove it, otherwise you're going to jail. Hey, you proved to me I did it before you put me in prison. But now, according to the whole court session, they are counting her as guilty without the evidence of the guy abusing her. Now, if it were me, okay, hypothetically speaking, and I want to put a disclaimer there, okay, intensely, so no liberal decides to conveniently misinterpret this. If I were to go on TV and if I said, yeah, I shot the guy because I was refused help, okay, they would put me on TV and only show the part where I say, yeah, I shot the son of a bitch. But they would cut the part out where I'd say, because I received no help. Now, after cutting out the part where I say I received no help, they would label me as a violent, psychopathic individual who should be put on death row. But according to the government, Jodi Arias gets marked as the domestic terrorist. Now, we don't know why she killed him. We don't know why yes, we saw no evidence. But I would definitely say, in her defense, if she killed him innocently, you show me that her boyfriend didn't beat her on a daily basis. That's the way I would defend her. Now, if she did kill him in cold blood, again, not in her defense, but to screw up their storyline. You show me that she's the terrorist about her ex-boyfriend not committing domestic abuse, if that makes any sense. So it's a flip-sided storyline of this whole media fiasco.